It's finally arrived. We've got the Rlaarlo XTS Extreme Research Group by the looks of it. It's their new 1/10 rally car. But in this video, we're going to do something a little bit different. It's actually the roller. So we need to add our own electrics, our own servo, receiver, transmitter, and we need to paint the body as well. So there are 3 different versions of this car. You have the carbon version, you have the alloy version, and you have the roller version. The main difference between the alloy and the carbon version is the carbon version has carbon center brace instead of alloy. It has carbon inserts in the arms to give them a bit more stiffness. It also has, which is the most important difference I believe between the carbon and the alloy, is you do get full spiral machined diffs. The alloy version, they're not spiral and they're not machined, so they are a little bit weaker. With the carbon version, you also get better electrics as well. The roller version, for me, is the best of both worlds because you can add your own electronics, especially if you've got electronics laying around. You can paint your own body so you can have it as you want to have it. But it comes with all the upgrades that the carbon version comes with. So the roller version is the carbon version, just with no electronics. So for me, that's the one to go for, especially if you've got some spare electronics laying around like I do. These are the main stickers for the car, the windows and things like that. I will be using some of these, but I have got some of my own stickers, which I'll come to later on in the video. More stickers, upgrade parts, and the manual. Usually the manuals with Rlaarlo are colour. This is actually a black and white one, which I don't mind too much. It's pretty good. You've got it in English and in Chinese. Gives you a nice breakdown of all the parts, where they go. So a pretty decent manual. Window masks with this, which is a really good, because I got the roller version of the Omni Terminator and you didn't get window masks with that, so it's really nice to see that we've got window masks with this. You get the parts you need so you can actually fit a bigger battery. Again, I'll be showing this in the video. I'm going to be fitting a bigger battery on this, so these are the parts for that. You'll get this with the roller, with the carbon version and with the alloy version. Get a bag of tools, wrench for the actual wheels. You get some Allen keys, which I wouldn't use. I'd use your own Allen keys, to be totally honest with you. And you get a couple of pinions with different sizes as well. Get the motor mount and the servo horn and the servo adapter as well. But if you're going to fit a regular size servo like I am, you're going to need a different servo horn. A couple of spare battery straps for fitting the bigger battery. So here we are, the roller. The first thing I'm going to mention is if you do get the roller, you're going to have to take all the plastic parts off before you paint it. It'd be nice for those all to come separately. I suppose in a way though, you know everything goes once you take it off. But yeah, it's all the plastic bits, all the lighting, everything like that is included, but you're going to have to take all of that off before painting. You've got 4 points where the body connects. It connects to the back on a hinge system. You've got 2 points here on each side, which are these little tabs. Slide into the actual side of the chassis rail, click them up, that locks in place, click them down, and that unlocks it. And then you've also got a little trigger here, which locks into place, and then you unlock it to take the body off. But for a clipless system, it is quite a lot going on in there, and it's not just, I mean, once you get used to it, I imagine it'll take a bit quicker, but it does seem a little bit over-engineered. It bends over and it stays connected here, but obviously to paint this body, you're going to have to unscrew this at the back here. You're going to have to take all these electronics out as well, and all these bits of plastic before we start painting. I must admit, the body, the actual Lexan on this feels really nice quality actually. It's got a bit of stiffness to it, but it's got some nice bend to it as well, but the thickness is really nice. And it does feel pretty good quality. It's a little bit heavy, but not stupidly heavy. But yeah, as I say, to paint it, which we'll be doing in a little bit in this video, I'm gonna have to take off all these, all this front plastic, all of this, the electronics from the middle, and all the back as well is gonna have to all come off to bare paint this. Now, if you've already owned or you do have a Rlaarlo Omni Terminator, this is gonna look very similar. There's a few differences, but the chassis itself is identical. Exactly the same. I love the etching on this. It was the same with the Omni Terminator. Really nice. Obviously, the bumper mounts are going to be very different, but the actual chassis itself is exactly the same. The arms are obviously different. They're a little bit shorter than they are on the Omni Terminator, but it looks like the same plastics they've used. Never had any problems with the arms bending, and they've got a little bit of stiffness because they've got that carbon insert in on the other side. And the tyres just feel really nice, feel quite grippy. You've got 12mm hexes. You better fit a lot of 1/10 wheels on there. The shock towers look very similar to on the Omni Terminator. I think they are the same shock towers, maybe a little bit thinner, but they look exactly the same. The nice upgrade they've done on this compared to the Omni Terminator, and hopefully these will fit on the Omni Terminator, is the actual standoffs. They've got proper standoffs. There is a screw through it, but you do have proper standoff on these shocks, which is a lot nicer than just a screw through it. And you've got a bolt on this side and a 2.5 on that side, so these should make it a lot stronger. Suspension at the moment feels a bit bouncy, but that's because I've got no weight in it. So once my battery's in, my ESC, my motor, it's going to drop it a little bit and it's going to feel a little bit nicer. But it still feels really nice. Rlaarlo shocks setups is generally really good. Another difference, obviously, they've done with this car is made it a lot easier to fit your ESC at the top here. So you've got two boxes here for your receiver. So you've got your front receiver box, your rear receiver box. The front one doubles up as your servo holder. But what you can do is get this part here, our treble 162, which means you can fit a full-size servo in this. All you need to do is remove this servo box completely, then use the rear box to put your receiver in. Your ESC sits up here, and then what you can do is take this part out here, extend your battery tray all the way, and you can fit in a full-sized, or more or less a full-size 3S battery in there, which gives you more run time. Double wishbone suspension on the front with turnbuckles and CVDs on the front of the car. Full bearings throughout. They're not sealed bearings, so just be careful with water and things like that. I would have liked to have seen sealed bearings in this car, especially with it being winter time. So we'll just have to keep an eye on those. One thing which is nice to see since the Omni Terminator, they have actually upgraded the drive cups. I don't know if you can see in there, hopefully you can. They're like a different type of colour now. They're not the S2 upgrades, which you can buy, but they're a different type of metal. So I'm hoping they'll be a lot stronger. I never had issues with my Omni Terminator with the drive cups, but some people did. And it does feel like they've got some pretty decent diff fluid in the front as well, and a little bit looser in the back. But we'll be checking the diffs on this. We'll be checking the diffs on this video anyway to see how they are. You do have full aluminium hinge pin braces on both the front and the back, which is really nice, which will hold them hinge pins in nicely. The servo saver on this is really nice as well. You've got a full spring there. You can adjust at the bottom to make it stiffer, but it does feel really nice and smooth out of the box. One of the things that I'd like to have seen them get rid of on this car, which has kind of crossed over from the Omni Terminator, unfortunately, is the 1.5 screw heads. Just be uber careful when you're taking any of these screw heads out. Use a really good quality hex driver because they're using 1.5s. I would have liked to have seen them gone and just stick to 2 and 2.5, especially on a 1/10 rally car. 1.5mm on the chassis is just asking for trouble. You're gonna end up, damaging one of them screw heads, and it's gonna be a nightmare to try and get it out. Just make sure you're using a really good quality 1.5mm and be really extra careful. I wouldn't recommend using power tools on those 1.5s. Another thing that I would have liked to have seen them get rid of is the 48 pitch spur gear and pinion gears. On a 1/10 rally car, really would have liked to have seen a 32 pitch gears on this. It would have made it a lot stronger in the middle. It's going to be a lot easier to damage that pinion and that spur with the 48 pitch, but it is what it is. 48 pitches are not too bad, but again, 32 DP pitch would be really nice. We'll have a look at that when I get it out. First impressions of this car, it looks really cool. I'm going to be putting a 10BL 120 G2 Hobbywing ESC, which will run between 2 and 4S. I've got a 3300 kV motor, which is a 3660, I believe. And then I've got a 9 mod 45 kilogram servo, which is probably over the top and you don't need that. But it'll also run at 7.4 volts, which runs off my ESC. So it'll give it nice, quick, direct steering. And then I'm just going to use my Sanwa MX7. I've got spare receivers for that, which should hopefully better squeeze into there. So let's start off by taking this off, and then I'm going to show you how to get into the center diff to check that. I'm going to take off the front diff, rear diff, check them for fluid. The way I'm going to set this up is I want the rear end to slide a little bit. It's a rally car. So I'm going to put some thicker diff fluid in the front, thicker in the center, and more thinner diff fluid in the rear. And that should give it some more drive from the front, but it should also help the back end slide out a little bit like a rally car does. So let's start off by taking this off, which should be just, I think, 3 or 4 screws from the bottom. And these are 1.5s, unfortunately. If you're going to be using any kind of tools, I recommend these MIPs, really good. And I don't recommend using the electric power tool, which I'm going to do, but with these drivers, they're generally really good. And that should just pull straight out. There we go. And I don't need that at all, so I could just put that to one side. And as you can see there, that's where your small size servo would fit into there. To get into the center diff, you're going to have to take out these bars here. So you've got 2 screws here. And you've got 1 screw here. And then we should be able to take out this center brace. This should just now lift off, which it does. And then you should be able to just take these center braces off. It should just click away, like so, like so. Now we're just going to take these 4 screws off the top here. Top plate should just pull off. Take this off. There we go. And there's your center differential. Now there's no way to actually take it out like this. I mean, you could probably force it out, but it's, it's not recommended. So the way I'm going to do it is, I'm just going to undo the actual motor mount from the bottom. So these 3 screws here are for the motor mount. They are 2mm, which is good. Just be really careful with these though, because if these are Loctited in, if you've got a solder iron, just get a solder iron and put it to each one for about 5-6 seconds, and it should get rid of any kind of Loctite. But we'll see what they're like. So it doesn't actually look like they've used any Loctite on these screws whatsoever. Now we should be able to just prise this apart. You do have to give it a little bit. There we go. And we've got our center diff out, which feels quite loose, so I am going to put some thicker fluid in this. It doesn't feel too bad. It's definitely got some fluid in there. Might as well just open it up, and I'm just going to top it up with probably some 0.5 ml, leave what's in there and top it up just to give it a little bit more stiffness. There we go. As you can see, it has got some in there. The gasket is nice. Make sure you keep your gasket okay there. You do get some spare gaskets with the kit. There's a little bit of fluid in there, but not a huge amount, so I'm just going to top it up with some 0.5 ml. Just top that up. Make sure you get your holes lined up when it goes back in. One thing I always like to do is don't tighten up fully with the power tool and just use a normal driver. And there we are, all back together. Feels a little bit more resistance in there, which is good, which is what I'm going for. So we now should be able to just get this back into here. There we go. And then we can just fit this back around. We'll get the motor mount back in first, and then we can put the top plate back on. Into the front diff is actually a lot easier. These 2 screws behind here need to come off, and then we've got 2 screws down here to get this front diff off. Hopefully, when I did this on the Omni Terminator, I actually damaged one of them screws straight away, so fingers crossed this comes out okay. So yeah, these 2 back screws here want to come out first. There we go, that's them 2 screws taken off. To make it a little bit easier, I would probably recommend just taking these 2 screws from here out as well, so you can remove this front plastic part of the bumper. Then the 2 screws that you need to remove are this one here, and just be really careful with these because, like I said, I damaged them last time. The screw heads themselves, to be fair, do seem a little bit better quality, and they're a lot deeper as well, so they're less likely to have problems with these than you did with the Omni anyway. Now it's just these 2 front screws here which hold in the sway bar. Better get this front out. Worst case scenario, we need to take the sway bar off from the other side as well and bring it fully out, but I'm hoping that'll give us enough room. So it's just these 2 screws here you want to take out to get the front of the diff case off. These 2 are here for your hinge pin holders, and these 3 here for your bumper. Must say, so far these screws are coming in and out a lot easier than they did on the Omni Terminator. So this bit here can be a bit awkward just to get out, but it will pop out. It'll just be a bit stiff, especially the first time. And then we should better just take that out like so. There we go, that's your front diff housing. And here is the actual front diff. To make life a little bit easier and to get this out, I'm just going to take out this top arm pin here. So you've got to release little bolt here which goes in, take that out, and then you've got a little pin in there you can pull out with some pliers. So you don't have to take that all the way out, just leave it like that. Should we get some pliers and just pull out your top hinge pin? There we go, like so. There we go, that's just your top hinge pin. You can see that bit there, it has to go back in straight so the grub screw can go down to hold it in. That upper arm should come out. Yeah, and by undoing that top arm should make it easier just to pop out that front diff, and there we go. It feels all right. As you can see, you've got spiral diffs here. These are machine spiral diffs. You can get upgraded metal housings for these as well, but the plastic, but feels all right. A little bit loose, so I'm just going to stick some 50,000 in here. I'm going to top it up with some 50,000 just to stiffen it up a little bit. And make sure as well this goes back in the same way, the same orientation. One thing I've noticed though, there's hardly next to no grease on this, so I'm going to put a little bit of grease onto this diff because there's no grease on it whatsoever. So let's get this opened up and put some 50,000 on. I'm going to do that off camera because it's exactly the same as doing the centre. If there's no diff oiling or anything like that, I'll come back and show you, but it feels like there is a little bit in there, so it's going to be very similar to the centre, I believe. So there we are, I've filled that up. Did have about half full. I've put some 50,000 in it and it does feel a little bit more stiffer, so we'll get this back in now. There are no shims on this diff, but it does fit really nicely and there is no movement, which is really good to see. I'm just going to get some grease and put a tiny bit of grease on that. So if anybody's interested, this is the grease I use. It's just multi-purpose grease, NLG 12. I've been using it for a long time and it's pretty cheap on Amazon and works fine. And literally, you don't need a huge amount on. The more you put in there, the more it's going to attract dirt and grit. Just going to put a little bit on it, just work it around, and there we go. It's got a, that's just about enough. You just want it so it's like just, you know, it's coated in it but not fully. We'll get the diff housing back on. I'll get this all back together. The rear comes off exactly the same way. It's just a little bit easy. You've just got these two screws here to take off and that will just flip open, and then you've got the same top two screws. Take off your sway bar from one side, probably take off an upper arm and the two screws underneath. So I'm going to do that off camera. It's exactly the same as the front. Right, so that's all that back together. So both diffs are done now, still running nicely and smoothly. Obviously I've greased the front and the rear diffs as well. Really impressed with this so far actually. It seems to be coming, the screws do seem better quality than they were on the Omni Terminator. I don't know if they have actually improved them or not, but they just feel better quality. So next thing you need to do is get the new servo mount in here. So this means you can fit a standard size servo, which is a lot better. So that just fits nicely in there. With the new servo adapter, you do get various screws. The two smallest ones are for actually putting the servo adapter in from the bottom. The rest of them are actually to put in your servo. I'm going to use a bit of blue Loctite as well to put these two screws into the actual servo mount as well, because it's into aluminium. Before I get the electronics in, what I'm going to do is make this battery tray a lot longer. So you need to remove this tray here, and you're going to remove also this little bit of plastic here as well. So yeah, those two screws remove your ESC tray, and then you should have two screws here. We should remove this part here, and this can just come out like so. Take out this battery strap. So to fit the bigger batteries in here and put these battery adapters, what you get, you're going to have to remove these two bits of padding from here, and you do get some thinner pieces to go into here to keep your battery nice and flat and level. You also get this little end piece here which goes onto the end of here, depending on how long your battery actually is. That will fit on there like that. Then these fit on here like so, and the holes are already on there. Then these two pieces go on here and here. You need to screw all those in. Then your battery straps will come around and your battery will sit along there. I'm going to be using this 3S 5000 mAh, and that hopefully should fit in there perfectly, which it does. So that fits really nicely up to that part there, and then the straps will come over that. So that fits in there perfectly. I'll get all that screwed in, get the straps in and show you what it looks like. Now when you first look at this, you think the battery straps are way too long. But what you need to do, and I hope this comes across on video, is pull this through like that, pull this through like that. So you've got the two bottom bits there. Your battery slides into there like that, fits nicely. And then you pull that, then you pull it over, and then you wrap it around like that. And that battery's not going anywhere. That is really nice and snug in there. Yeah, suspension's working a lot nice now as well, a bit of weight in there. So it's definitely worth doing that. Definitely worth having your ESC there and the bigger servo. That's better. I'm going to be sticking this Hobby Wing Quick Run WP10BL120 G2. It's 120 amp. It runs 2 to 4S, fully waterproof. IP67 I think, so it's pretty good. I've had it for a while, but it's just a really good ESC. Got this 3300 kV motor. It's a 3660, nice and powerful. And I've got this, not 45 kilogram, 35 kilogram Dymod. It's a really good servo actually, all metal geared, all metal. It's meant to be waterproof. It's a bang good AliExpress special, I think £14, but really good servo. So with the servo you get this, which you need to screw this actually into your existing servo's arm. So that should just screw straight into the arm like that. So you want your servo arm to be on this side. So I'm going to do off camera. So I'm just going to plug this into my ESC, into my receiver. Just make sure that it's actually centered and then put it in. So that's the servo screwed in. I have put some Loctite in this as well. And then as you can see, now we need to make sure the servo itself is being centered. So I need to make sure the car's as centered as possible. I mean, you can always adjust it. So this part here, you're not gonna need this part here. You're just gonna need this. So we need to unscrew this. Sorry, I lie, you don't need to unscrew it. You just need to pop out the ball out there. So this now should click onto there and click onto here. But as you can see, it's a bit short. So we need to make this a tiny bit longer. And we'll just adjust it until it's about right. I'm going to adjust it on both sides so it's evenly. Just a tiny tad more. There we go, that's about perfect. Click that onto there, click onto there. Just give it a bit of support underneath to your arm. And that's all on. Like I say, you're able to finally adjust it anyway. You can also adjust it with your transmitter as well, but that's on there. Right, let's just make sure that's working all right. Perfect. Nice strong servo, nice and quick as well. But that's in there fine, working great. Next we'll put the motor. As you can see here, I've actually fixed it already to here. So I'm gonna have a look at what pinions come and see which we'll put on. Right, I'm gonna go for the bigger pinion. Might as well. I believe this is a 23 tooth. I will double check and put it on the screen if I'm wrong. Obviously when we're mounting this into the actual motor, I want to make sure that we get the flat side, and also I'm going to use some Loctite for this as well. I'd always recommend as well, whenever you're obviously putting a pinion in, always use Loctite. Also what I'd recommend is leaving it for about 24 hours before you go and run it. Let that Loctite go off. Tight as I can without, and there we go, that's on. Right, I'm hoping I can slide this in with, because this plastic's pretty, but we might need to take this centre, this off to get it in, but we'll see if we can bend this. If there's an easy way, we'll find it. There we go. So before I set the actual spur and the mesh, I want to make sure that the spur, because the spur gear is still quite a bit of movement in there. So I want to put the top on, put the centre brace back on, and then I'll do the mesh. So yeah, we'll get this bit back on first. Before we get this bit on though, I'm just going to take this off, which is the pinion cover. And we can just pull this receiver box to one side. And that's a nice tight fit in there. Get that back screwed in. There we go, that's nicely all in now. So now we'll just get the mesh correct. It's a bit awkward because this sliding mount is all right, but it doesn't slide very well, I have to be honest. So I just need to get it so it's, yeah, it's not the easiest, but we'll get there. It's that kind of clicking. I usually do it by sound. And I don't know if my camera's going to pick this up or not, but if you listen, now that sounds about right. Obviously, it's quite a difficult one to get, but we'll get it semi-tightened up and we'll see. Again, this is one of the reasons why I do prefer to have 32 DP rather than 48. It's just a lot easier to get the mesh and things like that the bigger the gear is. We'll just get some of these screws in, we'll check it. You probably won't be able to pick that up, but it's just got a little click knocking and that's about perfect. So I've either been very lucky, but we'll soon find out if I strip the gear straight away. You see, that's too tight now. Now that sounds perfect. I usually go by sound and that sounds about perfect. So like I say, we'll soon find out. Yeah, it's very fiddly, that motor mount. Don't remember it being this fiddly on the other one, but That sounds about right. Right, we'll just get this back on and then I'll get the ESC on. Just a quick tip, servo will have to go on afterwards because to get the centre brace back in, the servo's in the way. So centre brace back in, then the servo on. Yes, and the actual centre brace won't go in, so you have to take out the actual servo mount, put the centre brace in, then put the servo mount back in. I'll be 2 secs. And there we go. For you it was a couple of seconds, for me it was about 10 minutes. So yeah, so obviously the centre brace has to go on before you can get this on. If you've got the original one on, you probably need to take that off as well. So let's get this on here, which is the ESC mount. As you can see as well, it's also got some little lines here, so you can, as well as sticking it, I'm going to use a bit of zip tie as well, just around here and here to secure it on there. One thing I will say is this, because it's like got ridges on it, it's not the best to actually stick down an ESC. Now this, I'm going to give this all a clean up anyway before I put the stick in there. I mean, it's going to fit on there. You do get 2 zip ties in the pack as well, which I presume are for exactly this. And you don't really get a massive piece of the tape either. And I've got none around, but that's the biggest piece I've got, which is nowhere near big enough for the actual ESC. Found a bigger piece, but it's still not big enough, so definitely use the zip ties as well. So 1 zip tie around that bit there. With this ESC being so big, it's only going to really be able to use 1 zip tie, but with that sticky down and with that on, it should be absolutely fine. There we go. And there we go, up there nicely. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to do it off camera, because it might take me a little while. I'm going to get all the wiring tidied up, get the receiver in there, and then we're all good to go. Body next though, that's going to be the hard bit. So there we are, all finished, all done. ESC's fitted, motor fitted, servo in, all looking pretty cool. And I'll show you the body now, and let's have a look what that's like. And here we are, all done. And I'm pretty impressed with how it looks, to be totally honest with you. The sticker's obviously not designed for this car, so off the 99 Rally Ford Focus. A bit of a homage there to Colin McRae, one of the greatest rally drivers ever. But yeah, I'm really chuffed with how that's come out, to be totally honest with you. The front windscreen I messed up a little bit, but yeah, really impressed with how it looks. And there's the rear, Monte Carlo 99. So yeah, overall, really happy with how this has actually turned out. Happy with the actual car itself. I think it's got a lot of potential, and I'm really looking forward to getting this out and running in it. I think the body clip system is a bit complicated, and it's not very easy to get it on and off, I'll be honest with you, but it does work, and it's nice that there's no actual, you know, clips showing through. The only issue I've got at the moment with this car is the lights won't work. The reason the light won't work is the light box that comes with this car is only with Rlaarlo controllers receivers. I've now got a Rlaarlo controller receiver which came with my Rogue One, ROG1, that doesn't work with it. So, and I've tried my Sanwa, I've tried my FTX, I've tried different receivers, different controllers, different transmitters, none of them work. All I get is a flashing light. So I've disconnected the lights for now, which is a real shame because I was looking forward to seeing those lights light up when I'm running it. So I'm really disappointed with that, and hopefully Rlaarlo will come up with an answer for that, because I don't really want to buy a Dumbo receiver. I don't need one. That's the reason I got a Roller, because I've got all the parts I need. So yeah, apart from that, not very happy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this out. I'm going to see how fast it goes. I'm going to give it a run, give it a rally car around. But for now, this video ends here. The next video will be me running this car, giving a full review of it. But I'm going to leave you with some footage of this car running, just to entice you to the next video. Hope you enjoyed that. If you've got any questions, any comments, please don't hesitate to put them down below. And I'll see you soon for the next video. Happy RCing.